I still remember the day I held the keys to my first house. 3 bedrooms, quiet neighborhood, in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Every dollar of that $285,000 price tag came from a decade of 60-hour work weeks as a software engineer. I stood in the empty living room sunlight streaming through the windows I would soon call my own, and felt something I had not experienced since I was 7 years old. Pride, security, home. Then my phone rang, and a lawyer's voice shattered everything. My mother, the woman who abandoned me 25 years ago, was suing me. She wanted my house. I never imagined my own mother would try to destroy everything I had built. Before I tell you how this nightmare unfolded, I would love to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you have ever dealt with toxic family members or legal battles that turned your world upside down, hit that like button. It really helps others find this story. Make sure to subscribe, because what happened next in that courtroom? Well, let me just say, my mother had no idea what evidence I had been quietly gathering for months. The look on her face when I revealed everything, you will not want to miss it. Trust me, this gets intense. So let me take you back to where it all started, back to the moment I thought I had finally made it. I grew up with my grandmother after my mother Linda walked out when I was 7. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. My grandmother did her best, working 2 jobs to keep us afloat, but she passed away when I was 19. From that moment, I was on my own. I worked construction jobs during the day and took computer science classes at community college at night. Every paycheck got split 3 ways: rent, food, tuition. For 10 years, I lived in cramped studio apartments with radiators that clanked all winter and neighbors whose arguments bled through paper-thin walls. But I kept going. I graduated, landed a job as a software engineer, and started saving. Not for vacations or fancy cars, for a home. When I finally signed the mortgage papers, my hands shook. The real estate agent handed me the keys, and I drove to the house alone. It sat on a tree-lined street where kids rode bikes and families walked dogs in the evening. The front lawn needed work, and the kitchen cabinets were outdated, but none of that mattered. I walked through each room, slowly touching the walls, imagining the life I would build here. This was not just walls and a roof. This was proof that I had made it without her. I spent weekends repainting the living room, a soft gray, installing new cabinet handles in the kitchen, planting a small maple tree in the front yard. Each improvement felt like stitching together the pieces of a life I had always wanted but never had. 6 months passed. 6 months of quiet happiness, of coming home after work to a place that was truly mine. Then Linda called. I did not recognize the number, but I answered anyway. Her voice came through the speaker, syrupy and unfamiliar after 15 years of silence. Honey, it is your mom. I have missed you so much. My stomach dropped. She kept talking, words tumbling out about how she had changed, how she wanted to reconnect, how she had made terrible mistakes but never stopped thinking about me. Part of me wanted to hang up, but another part, the 7-year-old boy who used to wait by the window hoping she would come back, wanted to believe her. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown. I arrived early, ordered black coffee I could not drink, and watched the door. When Linda walked in, I barely recognized her. She was in her early 50s now, wearing too much makeup, and a blazer that looked expensive but was not. She smiled, waved, and sat down across from me like we were old friends catching up. I am so sorry for everything, she said, reaching across the table. I was young and stupid and scared, but I am here now. I want to make things right. We talked for an hour. She asked about my job, my life, and then casually about the house. So you actually bought a place? That is incredible. How much did it cost? Who else lives there? Is it just your name on the deed? Her eyes brightened when I told her I owned it outright, that I was the only name on the title. Something about the way she leaned forward, the way her fingers drummed against her coffee cup, made my stomach turn. But I pushed the feeling away. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe she really did want to reconnect. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. The return address read Davidson and Associates Attorneys at Law. My hands trembled as I tore it open. Inside was a lawsuit. Linda was suing me for ownership of my house. She claimed she had given me $50,000 toward the purchase. She had documents, wire transfer receipts, even emails where I supposedly thanked her for the money. She was demanding 50% ownership or financial compensation. I read the papers 3 times, certain there had been some mistake. But there was no mistake. My mother, the woman who had abandoned me, who had not sent a birthday card or a Christmas text in 25 years, was trying to steal my home. I called the law firm. A receptionist confirmed it was real. I tried calling Linda. She did not pick up. I texted her. She blocked me. I sat alone in the kitchen I had repaired with my own hands, looking at the walls I had painted, the cabinets I had installed, and felt everything crumbling. But then something shifted inside me. I was not that 7-year-old boy anymore. I was not going to let her take what I had earned. I picked up my phone and searched for a lawyer. Marcus Brennan's office was small, tucked above a dry cleaner on the east side of Portland. He was in his mid-40s with graying hair and the kind of calm demeanor that came from 20 years of handling family law cases. I handed him the lawsuit, and he read it carefully, his expression darkening with each page. "This is serious," he said finally. "She has fabricated documents." I felt my chest tighten. "What do you mean fabricated, Marcus?" Pointed to the wire transfer receipt. "This is fake. The formatting is wrong. The transaction code does not match any real bank system, and the timestamp does not align with standard protocols. She also created fake emails supposedly from you thanking her for the money. We need to build your defense," Marcus continued. "I want every bank statement you have from the past 5 years, every email with your mortgage lender, every piece of documentation related to the house purchase." I went home and tore through my filing cabinet, pulling out statements, contracts, and receipts. My bank records were clear. There was no $50,000 deposit from Linda. There was no deposit from anyone. The down payment came entirely from my savings account built up over years of overtime and living frugally. The mortgage was in my name alone. Every email exchange with the real estate agent and the bank mentioned only me. Marcus hired a private investigator named Gary, a wiry man in his 60s who had spent 30 years tracking down fraudsters. "I need to know everything about your mother," Gary said. "Where she lives, who she associates with, her financial history." 2 weeks later, Gary called me at 11 at night. "I found something big," he said. "We need to meet tomorrow." I barely slept. The next morning, Gary spread a thick folder across Marcus's desk. "Your mother has a history," he began. "In 2015, she defrauded a boyfriend named Howard, forging his signature to withdraw money from his account. She got a suspended sentence." I stared at the documents, a mix of anger and sadness washing over me. But that was not all. Gary had found text messages between Linda and a man named Danny, a known forger, who had been arrested in an unrelated case. Danny had cooperated with authorities and turned over his communications. The messages were damning. Linda had written, "I need documents showing I sent my son 50 grand in 2022. Make it look real." Danny had replied, 50,000. That will cost you 2 grand. Linda wrote back, "Done." Marcus leaned back in his chair, a slight smile on his face. "We have her. This is fraud, forgery, and perjury. We are not just defending you anymore, Jared. We are going on the offense." I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. I did not want to destroy my mother. But she had chosen this path. She had tried to take everything from me. If she wanted a fight, I would give her one. But Linda was not done. A week before the court date, she launched a campaign on social media. She posted on Facebook writing, "Heartbroken mother being robbed by ungrateful son." She included a photo of herself crying, claiming I had stolen money from her and refused to acknowledge her help. She tagged old family friends, distant relatives, people I had not spoken to in years. Some of them believed her. My phone started buzzing with messages. "How could you do this to your mother? She is hurting so much. You should be ashamed. An old friend of my grandmother, a woman named Susan, called me in tears. She said Linda had told her I was cruel and heartless, that I had taken advantage of her generosity. I tried to explain, but Susan would not listen. Even some coworkers started looking at me differently, whispering when I walked by. The isolation was suffocating. Linda had weaponized sympathy, painting herself as the victim, while I became the villain. Then she showed up at my house. It was almost midnight when I heard pounding on the front door. I looked through the peephole and saw her standing on my porch, her face twisted with rage. "This is my house," she screamed. "You stole from me." Lights flicked on in neighboring windows. I grabbed my phone and called the police. When the officers arrived, Linda immediately switched gears, tears streaming down her face, voice shaking. "He is my son. I just wanted to talk. I just wanted to understand why he is doing this to me." One of the officers looked at me skeptically, but I showed him the restraining order paperwork Marcus had already filed. The officer asked Linda to leave. She did, but not before glaring at me with pure hatred. I sat on the floor of my living room after they left, back against the wall, completely drained. "Why does she hate me so much?" I whispered to no one. But even in the exhaustion, I felt a stubborn resolve harden inside me. I would not let her win. The Multnomah County Courthouse loomed ahead, all gray stone and towering columns. It was a cold October morning, the kind where your breath fogs in the air and the sky looks like wet cement. I wore a gray suit Marcus had insisted on, professional but not flashy. Marcus walked beside me carrying a leather briefcase stuffed with documents. Inside the courtroom, Linda sat at the opposing table with her lawyer, Peter Crowley, a middle-aged man with slicked-back hair and an expensive watch. Linda wore all black minimal makeup, playing the part of the grieving, wronged mother. She did not look at me. Judge Ellen Rodriguez entered, a woman in her mid-50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "All rise," the bailiff announced. We stood. The judge sat, and so did we. Crowley stood first, launching into his opening statement. "Your Honor, my client is a loving mother who made sacrifices to help her son achieve the American dream of homeownership. She provided $50,000 to assist with the down payment, only to be betrayed and shut out." He gestured toward Linda, who dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "This is a case of a son who received help and now refuses to acknowledge it." Crowley presented the forged wire transfer, the fake emails, and a sob story about Linda's supposed financial struggles to help me. He painted me as ungrateful, as someone who had taken advantage of a mother's love. I sat there, jaw-clenched, hands gripping the edge of the table. Marcus leaned over and whispered, "Stay calm. Our turn is coming." Then Linda took the stand. She placed her hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth, and sat down. Her hands trembled, her voice quivered. "I was a single mother," she began. "I made mistakes when Jared was young. I was not ready to be a parent, and I left. It was the worst decision of my life." She paused, wiping her eyes. "But I never stopped loving my son. When I finally got back on my feet, I wanted to help him. I had saved money, and when he told me he was buying a house, I sent him $50,000. She looked directly at the judge. He called me crying with joy, saying I had saved his dream. But now he denies it. He wants to keep everything and pretend I do not exist. The performance was flawless. A few people in the gallery shifted uncomfortably, their sympathy clearly with her. I felt sick. Marcus scribbled a note and slid it to me. "Do not react. We will destroy this." I nodded, forcing myself to breathe. When it was Marcus's turn, he stood slowly, buttoning his suit jacket. "Your Honor," he began, his voice steady and clear, "we will prove beyond any doubt that Mrs. Linda is lying." He walked to the evidence table and picked up a stack of papers. "These are my client's bank statements from 2020 to 2023. There is no $50,000 deposit. Not from Mrs. Linda, not from anyone. The down payment came entirely from Mr. Rent's, Jared's savings." Marcus called his first witness, Dr. Sarah Kim, a forensic financial analyst. She took the stand, calm and professional. "Dr. Kim," Marcus said, Can you explain your findings regarding the wire transfer document submitted by the plaintiff? Dr. Kim nodded. The document is fabricated. The font does not match standard banking formats. The transaction code does not exist in any real banking system, and the timestamp is inconsistent with how banks record transfers. Crowley tried to object, but Judge Rodriguez waved him off. Continue, she said. Next, Marcus presented Linda's own bank statements. Your Honor, in 2022, Mrs. Linda's account never exceeded $7,000. She could not have sent $50,000 because she did not have it. I watched Linda's face go pale. Her lawyer whispered urgently to her, but she stared straight ahead, frozen. Then Marcus dropped the hammer. He pulled out printed text messages between Linda and Danny, the forger. Your Honor, these messages were obtained through cooperation with law enforcement in an unrelated forgery case. He read aloud. Linda writes, I need documents showing I sent my son $50,000 in 2022. Make it look real. Danny replies, 50,000. That will cost you $2,000. Linda responds, done. The courtroom went silent. Even the court reporter looked up from her keyboard. Marcus continued. We also have Mrs. Linda's criminal record from 2015, where she was convicted of forging a signature to withdraw funds from a former partner's account. She received a suspended sentence. This is not a grieving mother. This is a repeat offender attempting to defraud her own son. Judge Rodriguez turned to Linda. Mrs. Linda, did you conspire with Daniel Hayes to forge these documents? Linda opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She looked at Crowley, who had his head in his hands. No, that is not, she stammered. Your Honor, Crowley stood abruptly. I need to request a recess to confer with my client. The judge's expression hardened. Denied. Answer the question, Mrs. Linda. Linda sat silent, trapped. Crowley stood again. Your Honor, I need to withdraw from this case. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Rodriguez banged her gavel. Order. She looked at Linda, with something close to disgust. I have seen enough evidence, Judge Rodriguez said. The plaintiff's claim is not only without merit, it is fraudulent. I am dismissing this case in its entirety. Furthermore, I am referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for potential criminal charges of fraud and perjury. Mrs. Linda, you are ordered to pay all legal fees incurred by the defendant totaling $17,000. Additionally, a restraining order is hereby issued. You are not to contact Mr. Jared or come within 500 feet of his residence. Do you understand? Linda nodded weakly, tears now real and streaming down her face. As the judge gathered her papers and stood to leave, Linda turned to me. Jared, please, she said, her voice breaking. I stopped, looked at her one last time. There was nothing to say. I had spent my whole life wondering if she would ever love me. Now, I had my answer. I turned and walked out of the courtroom, with Marcus at my side. That evening, I sat alone on the front steps of my house. Across the streetlights glowed in windows where families gathered for dinner. I could hear faint laughter, the clatter of dishes, the ordinary sounds of people living ordinary lives. I had won. The house was mine legally and completely. Linda faced criminal charges and financial penalties. Justice had been served. But I did not feel victorious. I just felt tired. Winning in court did not heal the wound of never having a real mother. A few days later, Marcus called. Linda had been formally charged with forgery and perjury. She could face up to 18 months if convicted. I thanked him for everything he had done, but my voice sounded hollow even to myself. Are you okay? Marcus asked. I will be, I said. I just need time. Time to process, time to heal. Time to figure out what comes next. Marcus understood. Call me if you need anything, he said, and hung up. I made a decision then. I would not follow Linda's case. I would not check the news for updates, or ask Marcus how it was going. I needed to let go, not for her, but for myself. Holding on to anger would only poison me. She had already taken enough of my life. I would not give her my future too. In the months that followed, I focused on work, throwing myself into coding projects that kept my mind busy. But I also started attending a support group called Reclaiming Boundaries, a gathering for people dealing with toxic family members. The first meeting was in a church basement, folding chairs arranged in a circle, coffee brewing in the corner. I almost left before it started, but then a guy about my age stood up and introduced himself. "My name is Tyler," he said. "My father stole my identity and ruined my credit. I am here to learn how to rebuild." I stayed. Over the following weeks, I heard stories that mirrored my own. A woman whose sister had forged her name on a loan. A man whose mother had drained his savings account. We shared our pain, our anger, and slowly our healing. Tyler and I became friends. We met for coffee outside of group, talking about everything except our families. It felt good to connect with someone who understood without needing explanations. I also started volunteering with a local organization that mentored young people aging out of foster care. I shared my story with them, not the legal details, but the emotional ones. How I had built a life from nothing, how I had learned that family was not just about blood. Some of them cried, some of them thanked me. One kid, a 17-year-old named Marcus, same name as my lawyer, told me, "You give me hope." That was the moment I realized something. This whole nightmare had not just been about protecting my house. It had been about learning my worth. I started making changes to the house again, but this time it felt different. I repainted the living room. A soft blue, planted lavender in the garden, hung photographs of my grandmother and my friends on the walls. Each improvement was not just about aesthetics. It was about reclaiming the space, making it truly mine in a way that went beyond legal ownership. The house stopped being a symbol of what I had almost lost. It became a symbol of what I had protected. One afternoon, about a year after the trial, Tyler and a few friends from the support group came over for a barbecue. We grilled burgers in the backyard, told bad jokes, and laughed until our sides hurt. At one point, Tyler raised his beer and said, "To chosen family." We all clinked our bottles together. I looked around at these people. None of them related to me by blood. All of them there because they wanted to be. And I felt something I had not felt in a long time. I felt home. I learned that family is not just about blood. It is about who shows up, who stays, who fights for you when things get hard. I learned that I had the right to cut off toxic relationships, even if they were with people who were supposed to love me. I learned that forgiveness is not required for healing. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is simply walk away. I heard through Marcus that Linda had been sentenced to 18 months of probation and community service. I did not feel satisfaction or relief. I just felt sad for a woman who had spent her life making the wrong choices. I hope she finds peace, I thought, but it will not be with me in her life. Now, when I sit in my backyard on warm evenings, I do not think about the lawsuit or the courtroom or the betrayal. I think about the people I have chosen to surround myself with. I think about the life I have built brick by brick, decision by decision. Sometimes the family you build is stronger than the family you are born into. And sometimes the greatest revenge is not destroying someone. It is simply refusing to let them destroy you. I still live in that house. The same 3-bedroom home I bought with money I saved and sweat I earned. But now, it is not just walls and a roof. It is home. And nobody, not even the woman who gave birth to me, can take that feeling away. So let me ask you, have you ever had to cut ties with someone toxic, even if they were family? How did you find the strength to walk away, and what helped you heal? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and your stories matter. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. And if you have not already, subscribe, because I share more stories about overcoming life's toughest challenges, and I would love for you to be part of this community. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it was not easy, but I hope it reminded you that you are stronger than you think, and you deserve a life free from people who do not value you. Take care of yourself, protect your peace, and remember, the best revenge is living well.